Well, howdy, everybody. Welcome back to Social Media Success for Professionals. I'm your host, Heather Holloway, and today I'm bringing back my buddy, Matt Gordon, the educated authority, the dude you want to know if you want to build trust and build an online reputation and get people magnetically attracted to you because you're such a thought leader out there in that space. You're providing value, and Matt's going to tell us how to do it, right? So, Matt, if you could, without further ado, tell us, what do you do for a living, brother?
Hey, it's so good to see you, and it's just so fun to be in your presence, even over the computer. What an upbeat introduction. So, what do I do? My wife always rolls her eyes when I say this, but when strangers ask me that, I say, "Well, I'm a propagandist." You know, they're like, Yeah, and basically, kind of a dirty word, maybe, but that's really what I do in terms of I work with people that are experts who have come to the sad, cold, hard realization that not enough people care what they think. And
Mm,
so I help them make people care what they think. And we do that through persuasion and propaganda and all of those kind of sneaky little offshoots of marketing that help you find your people and be a true thought leader. And that's a term that I think it's thrown around a lot, and I'm sure
yeah.
we're going to get into that at some point.
Yep.
But I'll just say it up front that the thought leadership is the business of leading thoughts, and so it's not just being smart in public. It really is um, changing the world in some small way or providing transformation for people. And that's really kind of my 100-year goal is to help a bunch of people make the world a better place
Hmm. Through their leadership.
through their thought leadership. Yeah, absolutely.
So, and like you said, we are getting into it. We're going to go right into it. So, thought leadership. Can you define that for us who may not know what that is, but we need to know as professional service providers?
Sure. Sometimes I think it's better to explain kind of the negative space around something to get to the heart of the matter. And so what is thought leadership not? Let me start there. Um, it's not being a teacher. Everybody kind of wants to fall into this teacher role, and teachers serve a great place in our society. They're important, but they're not really thought leaders. The people in education really, that's not what they do, because teaching is generally trying to prepare you for something. It's trying to prepare you for that world out there, whether you're thinking about like a primary, secondary education type teacher or whatever. Thought leadership provides transformation. And
Mm,
so it's really about uh changing the way people kind of view the world and the way they interact with it and the way they act, and that gives them some hope. It gives them the transformation in their lives that they're looking for.
mhm.
So that, I think, to me, is the biggest difference between a thought leadership and, we'll say, a content marketer, right, or a celebrity or someone like that,
Mhm.
is that the thought leader is really there to make a difference, and they're doing that um, by teaching, right? Like there is teaching in there, uh, but they do that by really kind of giving you a new set of glasses to see the world and to to interact with it.
Is the new set of glasses because the thoughts are coming from experience from the leader? Is that the difference between like leading and teaching? It's coming from experience, life experience?
Yeah, it's internalizing. Yeah, I mean, we talk about the glasses, right? Well, it's kind of internalizing a new way of looking at things. And so it's not so much about thinking outside the box, but saying, no, 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 the box is over here. I'm redefining the box entirely. And
Mm,
so we're going to go over here. We're going to look at it this way. We're going to use these words. So, one of the things, and we may have talked about this the last time we spoke, was the idea of an authority lexicon.
mhm.
You want to change the words that your followers use, and that serves a lot of purposes, but one of the big things is when you change a person's language, you change their mind.
Wow.
So
Yeah, and I read that in one of Dan Kennedy's books,
well,
talking about building your own bank, your own language bank.
Oh,
Is
okay.
that
Yeah,
what you're
that's a
talking
good
about?
way to yeah, that's a good way to explain it. So, why would you want to do that? Well, you want to do that because um you're kind of living rent free in someone else's mind. If Heather uses a word and I hear Heather use it and then I find myself using that, I'm going to think of Heather. And I may even give you credit and kind of spread the word, right? But I'm identifying myself as kind of a follower of Heather, if you will. And
Mm,
so when someone else hears that word and they say, "Oh, that's from Heather Holloway, isn't it?" Yeah, yeah, and so we give followers a way to identify each other. You wear the colors, you speak the language, all this kind of thing. Um, and it really does serve a purpose in terms of giving someone a new way to look at the world and kind of redefining what's going on.
yeah,
So that's a big part of that transformation.
I love that, because you're separating yourself from your competition immediately. You have
Yeah.
your own language. You have your
Yeah.
own your set of beliefs and your things that you're putting out there, your experiences. Um, AI can't compete with that either. Artificial
Not
intelligence won't be
really.
able to write like your own language.
Not really. We've done a lot of experiments with AI over the past several months, and it's interesting. Really great for some stuff, not so good for other stuff. It's a great tool,
Yeah.
and I think that the effects that it's going to have on us online and us in the world is going to be profound. I really do believe that. Uh, but it's kind of what's that saying about to a man with a hammer everything looks like a nail.
Mm,
Some things are nails, some things aren't, right?
yeah.
So AI is going to be really interesting, when we get into social media and we get into content marketing and kind of authority content and all this kind of thing. You run up really quickly into this idea of content shock. And that basically means that online content is growing exponentially faster than our ability to consume it and process it, right?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
we're only human.
Yeah.
And
We
so,
only have 24 hours.
right, I mean, even if you and I said, okay, between the two of us, we're going to pick a day on the calendar, like today, right? And we're going to read everything that's written on the internet in a day. That would take us the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
just we couldn't do it. It's just how fast it's going. So this idea of content shock is is really identifying that our ability as humans has been completely outstripped by what we've produced. So what do you do about that, right? Like if there's so much information out there, the supply and demand tells us what? Well, when supply goes up, the price goes down because demand really isn't changing all that much. Yeah, more people are being born, people are dying, and people are maybe reading a little bit more or not, or they're watching more or not, listening more or not. But consumption is pretty steady.
Mhm.
It's kind of on this nice line, but content's like, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that thought leadership is really going to be important in terms of kind of doing things that raw information can't do, like providing hope and meaning and kind
Mm,
of context and conclusions that you just can't get from, just this sea of information kind of throwing itself at you every day.
yeah, and I think the trend started back in 2020 around COVID era that, community was a hot topic, right? Build a community, build a
Okay,
community,
yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
so what I'm picking up from you is with thought leadership and thought leadership content and placing yourself as a thought leader, you build that community. You find those people, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But when we talked last, you brought up a really interesting point that there are different types of thought leaders. So like you may not be the sauce for everybody, right? So can you
Mhm.
talk about the different types of thought leaders?
Sure, absolutely. So probably the last time we talked, I talked about something called the authority archetype, which
Hmm.
is kind of a style in which you present yourself, and we can get into all of those types of things in a moment. But really, if we want to talk about your goals as a thought leader, like you decide this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a thought leader. There are different kinds of thought leaders, and so we can go over that, which I think is going to be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Um, there are different kinds of thought leaders, and for example, we have the thought leader CEO, right? And this is someone at the head of typically a bigger company, and they're trying to build their business brand, and they're trying to do things for diverse business reasons. So, for example, no one says, "Well, I'm going to go buy an Apple iPhone because I think that Tim Cook is a thought leader in the consumer electronics space." Like nobody says that.
Right.
That's not why you choose an iPhone over like an Android or whatever else is out there. Tim Cook wants to be a thought leader, and I'm kind of assuming he does because he wants to recruit and retain top talent because that's going to make his company's products better.
Mm.
He wants to have good relations with investors so they feel their money is safe because someone really smart is at the helm, and they're like thinking ahead, and they're sort of at the forefront of what's going on in that world.
Hmm.
He wants to have a good relationship with his board of directors because that's the kind of thing they want to see, right? So
Mm.
all of those are you know good reasons to be a thought leader. um but that's only one kind of thought leader. You've also got the cause-based thought leader. And this is someone who has, a philosophy or a system or an idea, and they are really looking to change the world.
Mm.
You might have a cause like this is the way we should all be doing things. So when I say a cause, I don't necessarily mean a social justice
Well,
related
yeah,
cause like
you could take
ending racism or whatever, all
right.
laudable goals. But you could have a cause just within your own industry of, look, I think this is a better way of doing things, maybe a
Yeah.
safer way of doing things or a cheaper way of doing things. All right.
Yeah.
So
Or like
you've
would
got a
a
cause.
Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich, is that a cause leader?
That would be someone who kind of like had a system, right? Like he had this idea that he's espousing. So I would say maybe.
Maybe. Okay.
Third type of thought leader, I'd have to think about that, but it sounds right kind of on the face of it.
Yeah.
Uh, the third type of thought leader would be what I call the celebritized consultant. And so this is someone like a Gary V, a Seth Godin, right? 99% of their work is drawing attention to themselves so that they can get those high dollar consulting arrangements, and they can get the, six figure, seven figure book deals and stuff like that. So that might be a type of thought leader. You've got maybe the kind that's closest to my heart is the information marketer.
Mm.
And that is the kind of thought leader that has um, a product funnel, which may include services or it may include information products, a book, things like that. And so they've got that pipeline that they are trying to fill. You've got the content marketer, which I think is kind of the weakest thought leader. And we
Hey.
already talked about them. They're yeah, oh, I'm sorry.
Just kidding. Just
Yeah,
kidding.
they're just saying, "Hey, I want to be smart in public
Mm.
so that I can drive sales for my company."
Mm.
Right?
So
So
are
like
these the
I can get
influencers we're seeing on YouTube with like
some
Instagram
of them,
reel
yeah.
hacks and this and that?
Yeah. So what I like to talk about then is what I call the 360-degree thought leader, which kind of takes elements from all of those and adds them up into this, you know,
Because let
top
me tell
tier.
you, the content marketer one is a grind. If you wanna make it, you're posting daily, 2 times, 3 times. I mean, you're right,
Oh,
like,
it's work. It's work.
you were
Yeah,
hoofing it. Like,
sure.
I don't wanna be that one. So you're saying and then you have, you have the CEO, then you have, like, a Seth Godin and Gary Vee, and you might think, "Oh, well, they're out there in the celebrity world. Can I be that?" You're looking at the info marketer, which
Mhm.
might be, the closest one to our professional services-based businesses. But I like
Yeah.
what you're saying. You're saying, take a little bit of salt, little bit of pepper from each of them, and do your own
Yep.
concoction as a 360 thought leader.
Right. Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Right. So you can have a way of building your brand through thought leadership. a proprietary way of talking about and doing your thing. And we touched on that real early in the conversation. You want to have a deep product funnel. You want to have ways to help people, right? Like, what are your needs? How can I help you? Um, you want to present that sort of attractive character to people. Because really, if you're a thought leader, you're in the business of attention and trust and things like that. Like that's got to be a part of it. And also, of course, you want to be driving sales through your thought leadership as well. So all of those things kind of come together without the heavy advertising or the sort of you know production time and all of that, like you said, that grind of constantly being a content producer all the time.
Yeah.
I do tend to look at thought leadership is less of a marketing channel for your business and more of a bolt-on business,
Hmm.
because it's definitely the kind of thing that can in many cases provide more revenue than the actual thing that you talk about or do.
Hmm.
It can get to that point and get there surprisingly fast at times.
And is that
So yeah,
because if we're showing up in a different way, we have our own language, we have our own thoughts, our method. Holloway Media Services, we have a social media marketing plan that always works. It always works, Matt, and we call it SCOPE, right? Every good marketer needs an acronym. SCOPE. Strategize, customize, optimize, publicize, energize. And that is the message that we repeat over and over and over again. And as we're doing this, I'm starting to pick up on things that I say over and over again. So I am starting
of
to
course.
create my own language.
Mhm.
So okay, so we need to create our own language. What else do we need in our toolkit to build our online reputation as a thought leader? Do
Boy,
we need a do we need a podcast? Do we need to write
it's
a
not
book?
so much
Yeah, good.
like, it's not so much like coming up with an answer. It's like trying to pick the right one for the moment here.
Yeah.
And I think that you know, I'm gonna say that really, if thought leadership isn't strictly the teaching business, it's probably the storytelling business.
Mm,
And so you've got kind of your origin story, if you will, and you've got, your story about why you do things and the success that you've been able to enjoy and all that. So I think that stories are often a big part of thought leadership.
yeah.
So that is something that you definitely need. So if you've settled on your goals for thought leadership and you kind of know who your audience is, then you've got a few things left. You've got to come up with your space. Where is going to be your home base? Social is great, but from a thought leadership perspective, that's really only going down to the lake to go fishing, and then you pack the fish up in a cooler and take them home, right?
Yeah.
So, that's and then bad for the fish, you eat them. But but what a terrible analogy. Sorry. Anyway,
Don't judge.
point being point being, you don't want to build your house on someone else's property. And
Mm,
Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever, that's somebody else's property. So you've got to have a place of your own where you kind of own the environment and you
yeah.
get all the attention.
Yeah, and
So
so
you need to figure that
websites.
out.
Yeah, website would
So
be a good one. Obviously your email list is a good one. If you can
absolutely.
get
Yeah.
mailing addresses even better. Kids, I know we're on digital and I know we are in a digital world. I am a digital girl. However, addresses are still a thing.
Oh, absolutely. So I've been doing this newsletter now for a little over a year called Authority Gold.
It's so good.
And it's been great, but it's been the kind of thing where I produce a PDF and I email it to people. This year is almost certainly going to be the year that it becomes a physical newsletter.
Awesome.
Why is that? Well, because I want another way of touching people
Yep.
besides just through that computer screen. I want to create something where I get all the attention, the inbox isn't dinging, the Facebook stuff isn't going on.
Yeah.
I want to be able to have that moment with you. It's just you and I.
Yeah.
And so physical stuff is still awfully important. You're
Absolutely.
absolutely right.
Yeah. So amazing. So let's bring it home, Matt. So let's give the listeners an action that they can take on using social media to build thought leadership. What are some things that you're doing to build your thought leadership using social?
Well, one of the things that we've started doing kind of recently is emailing every day, daily tips to the
Really?
list. Yes. And so what I do with that is I take that email and I kind of turn it into an article. So then we can repost on social and do that. And so it's different than the mailing, kind of in terms of like a call to action type thing at the end. But and it's a little bit more of a shorter form
Yep.
thing. So that has been good. And I'm really into the idea, if you study the life of one of the first real media masters, right? And if you're gonna get in this game, I don't know why you wouldn't. Guy named William Randolph Hearst, right? The Hearst Corporation, and he had it all. He had newspapers, he had radio, he had movies, he had, all this thing. And what he did was he told his newspaper editors, you never buy a story that I can't turn into video and that we can promote on the radio and that we can, then turn into a movie and then we can review it in the paper, right? And so he had this idea of media stacking way ahead of his time,
Wow.
and it only gets easier now to execute his idea
Yeah.
than he had to do it, you know,
Yeah.
100 years ago. So that's something that I'm really into, because if you're going to create something to go and kind of reach out and touch someone, you want to kind of reuse and recycle that in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
So that to me is a big deal. And that is in fact one of the cooler uses of AI, is to really speed up that rewriting process. So
Mm,
that when I rewrite something, I can take it, turn it into a video, take the transcript from the video, rewrite it, and I've got something else, going on at the same time.
yeah. That
So yeah.
our word is our word for the year is efficiency. And that, my friend, is the most
Oh,
efficient
nice.
way of doing content creation as a professional service provider, as a thought leader, as an author, as a consultant, is getting more out of the things that you do. We simply don't, like we talked about it today. We just don't have the time. We don't
Right.
have the time. So if you have that idea, you have that main theme that you're coming back on, you have your language, it's like
Mhm.
produce one and then multiply. How can you multiply? So that's how you're winning the game on social media. I can't believe you're sending daily emails, my friend. That is just amazing. Well done. Well done. And since
Well,
you've made that switch, open rates, is it better? Are people
too
contacting
early
you?
to tell.
Too early to tell.
Too
Okay.
early to tell.
Yep.
I just don't have enough data to give you, 6 months from now, that, I'll have all sorts of data for you.
Yeah.
But for me, it's really about building that relationship and that daily communication. It's funny, I was watching a YouTube video the other day on the development of the VCR,
Ooh.
and it was so cool. Yeah, it's going back to like the late 70s, early 80s, right? When this is starting to pick up steam. And it talked about how the VCR won over something called Laserdisc, which
Mm.
was like, a DVD the size of an LP, and like it
Yeah.
was big, like a 10-inch silver disc. And they said the reason that VHS, or well, VCRs, videotape, won was because you could record on it. And that was really the first time that people could do time shifting. So if we
Oh,
had to be gone on Tuesday night, but my favorite show was on Tuesday night, we can set the VCR to record it,
that's right.
and then I can watch it later,
And
because
fast
that's
forward through the
something.
commercials.
Yeah, right. Because that's something that people really didn't have the ability to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can remember growing up, like missing your favorite TV show.
Ah, forget
That
it.
was like a huge inconvenience,
Forget it.
because what were you gonna do? It was just gone. It was this moment in time that you
Yeah,
missed, and the next day people are gonna be talking about who shot JR or whatever. And you don't know because you had to be out that night, right?
right.
So that is something that I think is, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
Our first evolution in time travel. I didn't even think about it then. That's so neat. And look at us now. We can't wait through another commercial. We just simply can't. We have to DVR everything. I need it on this. I need on demand. My
on
fingertips,
demand,
my
yeah.
control. Right. Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, ashamed to say I kind of lost my train of thought, but
That's okay. We're going to tie it back up here. So, all right. So, what did we learn? We
go for it.
learned that as a thought leader, that we want to have our own language. So, start documenting the things that we maybe say over and over again. Is that what you're saying? Like, or words that we create, or we want
Yeah.
to start to make that library.
So how do you do that, right? Well, one thing I would recommend is studying rhetoric, which again, I use a lot of stuff that like has kind of come to have a bad reputation, but it's really not as bad as, dirty little words like manipulation, propaganda, rhetoric, right?
Yeah.
What do you think when you hear the word rhetoric? Well, some politician lying through their teeth at you, right?
Yeah.
That's what rhetoric. Well, that's actually not what rhetoric was. It was the art of clearly communicating
Oh.
and being able to be quickly and easily understood and making your words memorable.
Mm.
And so rhetoric is a good tool to have in your toolbox if you're a thought leader. A great place to study it is and I think they still offer it. So I may be wrong, but I think that they still offer online. Harvard University has a course you can take for free on rhetoric.
Oh,
And
wow.
and I've been able to audit some of it, and it's pretty good.
Wow.
So that's something that you can do. And then you can pay and and get like a certificate from Harvard, like that you took a class at Harvard, which I guess
I
some people
mean,
would,
I might do it
you
just for
know,
the certificate.
yeah, right. Just put it on your LinkedIn. So
Hey, credibility stack.
absolutely. Yeah. So anyway, they offered a rhetoric course. I'm gonna have to look that up to see if it's still available. I hope it is.
If it is, we'll add the link here to the show.
Yeah.
So,
I'll get that
okay, so
too.
rhetoric, we want to start our own language. We want to start to document that. We want to show up online and not teach. We're not teaching. We're
Mhm.
imparting our expertise through storytelling.
Yeah, and another thing is, as a thought leader, you've got to become real clear on what you stand for and what you represent to your audience. Okay, so thought leadership is the business of saying this is good, that is bad, this is smart, that is dumb, this is right, that is wrong. Okay, there are no, oh well, it depends. And you and I know if you get into any subject enough, like that's your answer. Well, it's more complicated than that. It depends, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
that's reality, but that's not what people want. That's not what people are looking for. So
Mm.
even if it does depend, at least at the outset, you've got to be able to provide clear, straight, direct answers. Step 1, step 2, step 3, do this, don't do that, eat this, not that
Yeah.
kind of a thing, right? You
Yeah.
remember that series of books?
Yes.
Like, they've got like eat this, and it's like kale, not
Yeah.
that, and it's like a cheeseburger, right?
Right. Obvious, but here we are.
Yeah, right. So anyway, that's like a great example really of thought leadership. Like
Yeah.
you look at the cover of that book, you know exactly what it's about. It's a very high concept kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned Think and Grow Rich. What a great high concept title. I don't know if you've read the book, but
I
even
have
if you haven't, it's something to do with
thinking.
thinking and as a consequence, growing rich.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's I hope I'm giving you kind of a taste. I know that
Oh,
you
absolutely.
want to get like real tactical and tools and and we're gonna get there, but I feel like you've really got to set the table with a lot of philosophy about
Yeah.
this is sort of the bigger picture of what thought leadership is, so that you're not kind of going down a blind alley.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I hope
absolutely.
that I'm being helpful in that regard.
You are absolutely, like you said, step one, the language. Step two, it's getting out and telling the stories with your language and being confident to take a this or that approach, which I
Yeah.
need to get I need to tighten up a little bit there because I'm kind of still like, oh, I don't want to offend you, or I don't want to,
And I'll tell you,
yeah.
I've talked with my wife about this quite a bit, and she is in nursing, work with doctors, male and female, it can be very strong-willed. And so nurses tend to develop sometimes this language like, well, I feel like this, or maybe that, and they're always kind of couching their language to like soften the blow. And I do think that women have a more difficult time kind of like,
Yeah,
bang, this is it.
being
Because
direct.
you don't want to come off, any number of
Yeah,
ways that would be, unpalatable to the audience,
yeah,
even other women sometimes.
right.
So,
Yeah, we have a fine little line that we balance there as women.
yeah, and and
Thanks
and
for bringing
and
that up.
that's the dance that we all kind of have to make in terms of, if you're going to be a thought leader, you've got to have your values set
Mm,
where you can say, this is the way.
yeah,
If you want to do it this way because this is the best way, you come over here,
yeah.
you follow me.
So we need to work on our mental game too as we become thought leaders.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then to tie it all in, okay, we have our language. We're out there telling our authentic stories using our language. And then to tie it all in, it's what bits and pieces do you want to take from the different archetypes? And I think you have a quiz. Can you tell us about that?
Oh yeah. So over at educatedauthority.com, there is I'm gonna have to check to make sure we haven't moved it. There is a there's a thing at the top menu there,
Find your authority
and
archetype.
it's loading slow. Yeah, it's find your authority archetype. You can take that quiz, it's free. You don't even have to give me your email address if you don't want to.
What?
And you're gonna like, now if you do, you're gonna get like all sorts of goodies. Like you're gonna get some books, because this is the educated authority, right? Like
Yes.
you got to educate yourself. So okay, we found your archetype. Now let's talk about, here's some people you can study. So here's some biographies of people within your archetype, as well as biographies of all of the other archetypes. When I started this and I came up with this concept, I really did think that people had one archetype in them, and that's mainly true, but not entirely true. You've got a primary archetype, but then you also may have a secondary as well. So that's why I kind of give you everything,
Yeah.
because
I love that.
you may find different styles that appeal to you kind of under different circumstances.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and
I,
another thing that you must, you talked about your language, your values, your stories. We want to remember your platform. You've got to have your home
Mhm.
base. So I wanted to add that to your list before we got too much further.
Yeah, perfect. No,
Mm.
I think we've given the folks enough to digest today, Matt. I think what we do is come back and talk tactics. Today we're
Yep.
talking theory. I just want people to understand that you have to position yourself as a thought leader. It is way too crowded in the interwebs and on social, that this is how you stand out. You stand out by standing for something, and only you can do it, and only your way. So document your language, have your plan together, get on social, find the platform. Remember, put them on your platform. Because horror stories like Facebook just shut my account down, I can't get back in, stuff like that. It happens all the time.
Absolutely.
I literally got a text message from a colleague that said, they shut me down. I don't know. Help, help, help. And people just come to me because, we're social media experts and they think we can fix it. Even as a social media expert, we can't fix it. Like,
You
you
can
are
do a couple of things, but
at the
in the
mercy of.
end, it's not your decision.
That's
It's
right. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and you take action to try and resolve it, but you are at the mercy of the platform. So get them off. Even though I'm a social media marketing expert and we live and die on social, get them off social. Get them off of social and
Well,
into your.
I get so sick of all of the dating and relationship analogies in marketing,
Mm,
but really it is one of those like, hey, we just met. You want to come back to my place?
yeah, right.
You know?
Right, right.
So Yeah.
Right. Get those digits. Get those digits. Matt, you have been a world of information for us today. You have been such a thought leader for us. You have your system down. You're doing the thing. You're leading by example. And I'm so grateful that we know each other, that you can impart your wisdom on us, my friend. I do feel stronger knowing what it takes and the difference between teaching and sharing information versus leading the way in your industry. So thanks for showing us how to do that.
Well, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. I remember the last time I had had some stupid experience, like getting my car repaired right before we talked, and I was running late, and I'm like, I really need my dose of Heather today. It's
Aw,
been a rough morning, and yeah, just such a ray of sunshine. It's always great to catch up with you and to see what you're doing. And I'm super excited and just thrilled to see the success you're having
mm,
and things really just taking off for you. So
well, thanks, Matt.
congratulations.
Thanks, Matt. You're so sweet to say that. I received that and I throw that right back to you. I am so proud of you from where we started too. I mean, like, I think we met in 2020. So 3
Yeah.
years to see the evolution of where we were and where we are now and what
Oh, and a
is
heck of a
yet
3 years
to
too, you
come.
know?
Yeah, right.
Ugh.
It wasn't just like we took a beat and life was the same, right? It's like, no, no, no. Here's a major catastrophe. You go deal with it. Awesome. But we navigated, my friend, and here we are. So thank you so much. And I would love to have you back to talk about tactics. So if you do have a way of tying all this together and giving us a step-by-step guide, let's do it again.
Absolutely. I do get into tactics a lot, and I definitely want to share that with you. I share it every day on my emails and that kind of thing. So if you don't mind, I'll give that link out. You can be a thoughtleader.com.
Nice. You can be a thoughtleader.com. Go there
You
now.
can be a thoughtleader.com.
Sign up for the newsletter, daily newsletter with tips to help you get out there and be that thought leader.
And if you sign up, you get a copy of my book.
I'm going
You
there
either
right
buy it on Amazon or you get it for free from me just for signing up for the daily newsletter. And I'm cool. I'm not going to be a jerk with that whole email thing. So your privacy's safe. I'm not going to rent you out to
That's right. That's
to the
right.
arms dealers. Yeah. So
No, no, none of that. No, I don't bring people on that are arms dealers. No, no, no. So yeah, so do that. Tell me the web address one more time.
you can be a thoughtleader.com.
Get there now, kids. Get on the email list. He writes. I love the way you write. I love the way you write and you tell stories. So get on there for all the tips. Get his free book that's coming out soon, and be involved. Get involved with Matt. Find him online. Sign up for the email list. And Matt, thank you so very much.
My pleasure.
I'm Heather Holloway, and you've been listening to Social Media Success for Professionals. Thank you so much for being here. It means the world to me and my team. Hey, remember, check the show notes for resources and links to other episodes, and don't forget to hit that subscribe and follow button to be notified when new episodes are released.